Okay, hi everybody. Wonderful to see your beautiful faces. I just was asked to talk for a few minutes about Second Echo and oh, sorry, I've got somebody's mics catching me, but what we've been doing online. We've been online for over a month because we left the real world quite early in this process with a lot of our members with very low immune systems and complications that needed to be protected. And it was interesting, we had a rush to get online because we have artists who have been basically, I mean, we've all had our world turned upside down, right? But for some of our artists, they're taken out of where they were living, moved back with their parents for the first time in over a decade, living in one room, no connection to anybody, not allowed outside even of their house, and with limited access even to these kind of platforms. With what it really has shown me is, which we've heard for a long time, but it really has, I felt it at a cellular level, this digital inequality of this great thing that was created, designed to, you know, make everybody equal. But it's only equal if you have access to the right equipment, to the right NBN speeds, and have a digital literacy or any kind of literacy. And we've had huge challenges. I mean, we get together, I'm online every day with one or two or all of our Second Echo Ensemble members. I would say at least 50% of any session is still getting people online, talking to support workers who still have flip phones, to parents who don't have email addresses, and I'm talking on a landline, figuring out what button to press to be able to get people into this community. So we're spending a lot of time actually researching that and figuring out how do we bridge this gap, because as with any kind of community that is already a little, you know, left behind, and this time 6 months for people, you know, not in school or not at work can be caught up. But for those that are already being left behind, the gap just becomes wider. You know, rural communities, socioeconomic challenges and literacy becomes heartbreaking at this point. So we've done a lot of work on Zoom. We're working with Blue Jeans. I'm working with Google Classrooms. We're trying all of them. And I think what we've finally come up with, we're mainly going Blue Jeans at the moment, and I can show you that screen. But even that, what I have basically spent the last week doing is writing applications and philanthropic requests for equipment, with the idea of getting several setups for hosts that have multiple cameras so that we can have interpretations as needed, whether they need to be Auslan or whether they need to be picture maps. And then also alternate sound requirements for people. And then kits for online home kits. So somebody can borrow a tablet that comes complete with a dongle that has data prepaid, that has headphones, and has one little icon on the screen that if they click will take them into the Second Echo room in real time, so that there's absolutely no barrier and they can get their independence and their community back. So that's been our priority at the moment. I mean, in doing that, I think what I have discovered and working with the Second Echo artists is that for us right now, we are not rushing to create content. We are not rushing to say, yes, we make art here. We are maintaining and sustaining our community of artists first. And I think it's a really good question is, do we do this? You know, as in our art form individually or collectively? As always, artists are thrown in, you know, to rescue it and say, quick, fix this, make content. And even our funding applications are saying, make content online. But what if that's not what we do? You know, I don't paint with oil.
Kelly, can I just ask you, for those people who may not know in the group, to give a little bit of background to Second Echo?
Oh yes, I'm so sorry. I just should not have assumed that. Yeah, Second Echo is a company that celebrates diverse ability of all and access. So it's been going since 2005, based here in Tasmania, started by Finnegan Kruckemeyer, and was working within a disability service provider. Then it became a community program of Tas Theatre Company. And now we are an arts organisation in our own right, looking at not providing a service or an art service for people living with disability, but providing a platform and a pathway into professional employment for artists who identify as living with disability. So trying to reframe that and flip it, really believing that it's part of our collective story. If we don't hear these stories, if they're not heard, if we're not visible, we're missing part of our culture. Yes, so that, but a lot of our challenges, and it's not even only our artists living with disability. I can look at artists with access challenges, you know, who you might find with 2 small children at home, and how does that work now in getting people online, and again, living remotely with very unstable internet connection. So yeah, so we're trying to find connectivity for people, but not necessarily yet jump to the choice or to the assumption that we have to create art in this space. And I think that there's a danger in doing that, because it's very, very different. Just as there is a danger for all our parents who suddenly have to be able to become teachers. They're not, you know, we can love our children and we can support their learning, but are we teachers? Not necessarily. We haven't been equipped and trained to do that. And I think this is similar. That said, we are, of course, playfully experimenting, and mainly what we've been doing at this point is looking at the box that we are in, which is very relevant, again, I think, to Second Echo, because we talk a lot about supporting artists that don't fit in any box, that can't be ticked, and that are beyond our expectations as well. So I'll show you really quickly. I'll share you my screen just to show you. I guess there's a lot of similarities and differences between Zoom and Blue Jeans, but I think, I mean, I know Zoom, you know, internationally is getting a lot of bad press at the moment because of all of the reason for the passwords and not allowed to use breakout groups anymore is because of security. People are Zoom bombing, and very inappropriately, into group chats. So that's partly why that's happened. And again, we are very sensitive in that with our community in Second Echo, as you know, most people are. But other than that, and the other idea of Blue Jeans is that it's much more custom, you can customize it. So I'll show you, just so you can see the difference. This one, I'll share. Let me know with a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Beautiful. So if I log into Blue Jeans, this is what I see. So it's very friendly. It shows me exactly what's coming up next. It shows me my recent meetings of what happened. And then if I want to actually start a meeting, you can also see here, it's got the same kind of URL for joining, and we found this quite problematic for Second Echo artists and their support teams. But what it allows is, you see up here in my left corner, I can at least put our logo, and I could put more than that. I could actually put the whole word up there, Second Echo, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but for some of our families, actually knowing they're in the right place is very comforting. And then I can go here. The security on this is a little bit easier to manage because it's based on an enterprise model. So I can have my users over here, you can see in my settings, I manage users and then I add people. So only these people can come into our rooms. I don't have to then lock it. I don't have to password it. It's only the people that we're working with in each particular room. And I can add or invite other people to do that. And the other thing that I like a lot, if I go back, is again, as well as having our logo up here, I've actually also got a name that they can hit the link. I'm just going to see if I can find it here for you. Manage features, meeting. I can basically control the whole meeting from here. So even if I show you, actually, here I am on Blue Jeans. When I open up a meeting, it would look like this. And then once I get it, oh, you can see I'm now going to be online at 2 online platforms at the same time. Again, it looks very, very similar, but over here...
I'm not seeing that, Kelly. I don't know.
Oh, you can't see my screen now?
All I'm seeing is the admin page.
Oh, so it didn't. Let me see. I probably have to switch my share, new share. This one. Now let's see. Share. Now can you see it? Yes, awesome. So here, what I can do is the same thing as they have in Zoom. We've got whiteboard, which for Lee, you were asking, this whiteboard is how we are doing what we just saw Julia talking about, where you add one of these and we can all draw together in real time and see it.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Zoom has the same capacity to do that. You can go directly on Facebook. Again, we're not doing anything in the public. I put some really bad edit videos up there just for our members to get feedback, but we're not actually inviting anyone else in to work with us at this point. Breakout session, this bit I love, the meeting highlights, because sometimes you're online for an hour, but actually that one little bit when somebody was talking is what I actually want when I'm going back to edit it later. So I can just click that and the meeting will automatically save that spot so that I can go in and I can even name it. I could say, yeah, Kelly's awesome idea. And then it'll go right there. The other thing I can do, you can see here, very easily, I can change which camera or microphone. Right now, of course, I've only got one, I'm buying more. But this I love as well, that the whole layout, I've had a lot of issues with people trying to, again, just even find those simple things like toggling whether they see one person or everybody. And I can just automatically say, everyone's always going to see gallery. So that we can all see each other, or bring it back for everyone just to see a speaker if I want them to listen to one person. So it's complicated because I hate a lot about that, which is even the idea of the language of both of these, of the idea. I mean, you look up here, and we talked about this a little bit in the dance meeting we had the other day. In audio options, it says disable audio or audio on, slightly better language than Zoom of mute. Which is a nothing, but is also huge in our world. And in, I think, where we're really trying to make sure that people have a voice, that they're not muted, that we are really interested in listening. And it's clear that the technology needs us to do that at the moment, but the language, rings alarm bells for us a lot. So I'm going to stop this because you probably don't need to keep seeing two things at once, and come back to everybody. Okay, so there's some of the concerns that we have. In terms of the actual creativity that we're doing, as always, movement and dance leads me everywhere. It is my first language. So we've done a lot of figuring out what dance lives in this square for two reasons. I mean, one, because that's where we are and to really bring us present into this place. But also as a way of getting better at using it, of learning where our square is. So we might warm up by saying, okay, everybody who has a sister, leave your square. Let's play, go. If you've got a sister, you have to leave your square. So all of those people left now know they have something in common, right? If you have a dog, enter your square. Beautiful. So, I mean, this is a game that we play in the studio where we cross the studio, but here it's a matter of, can you find yourself and can you find other people and know whether you can be seen? We can play a body part warm-ups of only your hand can dance in the screen. In your square, only your hand. Off you go. Yes. And we do beautiful hand dances, seeing each other. These are beautiful to record later on as well. Yes, and then only a foot in the screen. Can you get your foot in there? Beautiful. And you see who's got green socks on. Oh, excellent. And then we might do something like everyone is sitting. You can see your head in the square. Great. You must now fall out of your square. Beautiful. And pull yourself into your square. Yeah, so again, it's that idea of there are things we do here that we dream of doing on stage, fly out of your square, woo! So it's enjoying what we have and figuring out what is the language for this stage, for this piece of art that we have. And also not taking it so seriously that suddenly we have to know how to be filmmakers or have to know, we're just experimenting. We experiment, with looking at, trying to find out, depth of field. We play Brady Bunch. Everyone picks up whatever they have. We did a banana dance and I have a banana and I'd take it out of my screen and somebody else would pull it into their screen so the banana moves around Brady Bunch. Yeah, and exactly, yeah, somebody passes it, and what we find is that because everyone's squares are in different places. So we thought I could actually choreograph it because I'm seeing everyone in one way, but you can't. But it's actually really funny that you can't. And I think that's what we've been doing, is looking at not trying to fix it. And this is something I did way back in the 90s when distributed performance first came on, of let's celebrate the failures or the differences that this place has that real time doesn't. So we're having a lot of issues with audio lag when we play music. So we decided that in a workshop we're about to run right after this, okay, so we're going to use that like musical chairs. We're all going to be dancing, but when your music stops, you have to freeze. So we can actually visually see the delays and see where people are and feel how different or how slow their internet or how far away they are based on when those freezes happen. And that's a rhythm you couldn't choreograph. You know, that is giving permission and giving control over to the technology in a more interesting way. I've told stories, you may have heard it before, when I was doing this with computer scientists at the University of Florida. We did this and I was like, oh, this is really interesting, this music delay, because I can't, how people are moving is different than what I would imagine, and we can't get that same sense of unison. But then the next week I came back into the workshop and they'd fixed it. They'd created a metronome. They created a piece of software that was embedded into everyone, so now we're all together. And I was like, well, that's the same as if I was here. So then we did 10 cameras all around us in order to create real-time avatars. And we were dancing, and at one point I put an arm behind my back and my avatar started going like this, trying desperately to find my arm. I was like, awesome. I'm going to try and replay that and learn that choreography, because I could never have made it. Guess what? Next week, they'd fixed it. They'd reprogrammed the camera, so now he never lost my arm. And I was like, well, then what am I doing it for? This is another dancer in this screen, this software, this distance. These are collaborators. And how do we embrace everything that they are offering us in the creative process? Again, product or not, we haven't got that far, but we're trying to embrace them as one of our company members. And I think that's all I was going to say.
Fabulous, Kelly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Definitely, thank you. Questions?
I've got a question, actually. Just wondering if there's any costs associated with Blue Jeans.
It's $10 a month for what you get for $30 a month with Zoom. They don't have a free option. The Zoom free option gives you 40 minutes at a time, which we couldn't operate in because it can take us that long to get online. So for us, the Blue Jeans is a cheaper option. Yeah. Oh, and I think in terms of the cost of the other one, the Google things we get as part of because we're in that whole Google suite, the admin, and it, sorts out all our email and Google Drive and everything. So it's coming included. If you're not paying for Google, I think right now they're offering it almost free, but I haven't really looked into that exactly.
Can I ask you quickly about Google Classroom? I've never used that. Did you use that?
Yeah, I haven't used it a lot, but I know other people have. I think, Rachel, have you been using it? Do you want to talk more to that? We've just started our experiments.
Yeah, look, I've only used it a little bit as well. And I, like everything that you said throughout the whole thing, actually, Kelly, but right at the start, similarly, we share challenges in access to hardware and internet and all of those things. So I was also experimenting with different platforms. And the good thing for me about Google Classroom is that it's accessible, it's free. The kids can download it as an app on their phone. So even if their phone is the only hardware they have, they can be on there. And we were kind of trying to use it as a adjunct to Zoom so that the girls who didn't have the bandwidth to get on Zoom, you can like not have a chat exactly on Google Classroom, but you can like start a topic in the main page and they could they could contribute to it, kind of like a chat. So we were seeing if it would work as a kind of, but you know, it's also like for us, it's good for evaluation. You can create surveys and you know, assignments, and you can post links, and it's all like, it's very simple, but it's kind of, yeah, it's got interesting capability and it's quite intuitive. So they got on it straight away, easy peasy. And I just tell them to just check it every day as like a notice board.
And Rachel, have you put that together with the Google Hangouts to see if their phones, because all of the ones we've been looking at also have to be able to operate on a, you know, basic basic phone. But yeah, that.
I haven't tried Hangouts actually. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, no, I was trying that, but it's, unless I set all of our users up with the Second Echo email and, you know, again, take away that barrier of having to log into something or have a Gmail. I haven't figured if that's going to be more useful to us yet or not. BlueJeans, again, is the same as Zoom. You can have a free membership. Everyone that's in our list, they're not paying. We're paying the $10 a month, and everyone else has free access. They download the app onto any device, Mac, Android phone, iPad, it works on anything. But what I also love is you don't have to have an app. So right now, before I get the devices for everybody, they can actually do it from any web browser. There's a button that you can just click. I don't want to download anything, just let me into that, because some people's devices don't have room for downloading of anything, or that's just too scary. You know, they've got everything. Most of my guys, all of that stuff is turned off on their devices by their support teams to make sure that nothing is downloaded by mistake. Yeah.
Can I ask what's the maximum number of participants you'd recommend to make it, you know, easier? Like at the moment, I've got in gallery mode 9 people per screen, and I can slide across onto 3 screens. So if you're working with people, what's your suggested maximum?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I'm still working on. The next workshop we have, we know we're going to have, 10 or 15 people. So we had designed for us to go into breakout rooms, because I find, that whatever device, the smallest device I know somebody has, I want to make sure they can see everybody. So it's normally 4 or 5 max. Because even though I can see everyone on a computer, if they're on their phone or an iPad, they can't. And again, the swiping and the disorientation of body and face when you hear somebody but you can't see them is challenging. So otherwise, like for our performance ensemble that have been working together for over 12 years, the larger group works, and they get a bit confused when they can't see everybody, but it's okay. But we often and frequently do the breakout rooms very quickly and then come back. So there's a balance of time where you see everybody and you have time and space for everyone to contribute without too much complication before coming back into this kind of game of everyone becomes more of a social thing as well, just being seen and seeing all those people you haven't seen in a while. But we don't do as much. We tried to do some showings, kind of, this is what we experimented with. And it's very difficult, because out of all of the squares, you're trying to find the ones that are actually dancing for you and not the ones that just happen to be getting a coffee or, scratching their ear. But that's also beautiful. That happenstance of, well, we're all performing. Our witnessing of it is part of it. The whole screen is still being captured. The other challenge for those of you interested in the documentation of it with breakout rooms, I've found is they're not recorded. You can't record they only will record the main screen at this point. And I have a help request into BlueJeans to look at that, saying, is there any way that I can nominate a breakout room? Or if the host is in the breakout room, can we record it? Because that is good feedback for people, I think, and they enjoy to see it.
I think the other thing about that, Kelly, was one of the things came up at an earlier meeting was it is quite nice to have some times within these sessions that are not recorded. So I think in some ways having those breakout rooms that aren't recorded is, that's quite interesting. One of the things I'm just going to throw in at this point was one of the reasons behind, well, certainly with this group today, was that we have been doing over the last while the project with Salamanca Art Centre, START, which has been real delivery of programs in Kelly's garden. And we want to turn that into an online program. And START are very keen to do that. So I'm throwing it out there that after that great stimulating ideas there of Kelly's, that if anybody wants to be part of that. Again, these are paid sessions to deliver and completely experiment. This is about playfulness, exploring different ideas. If anybody wants to do that, you know, think about that now as a potential idea. It's a way we can pay our artists, we can do it, and it's going to happen over the next couple of months. Are there any other questions for Kelly? Thank you, Kelly. That was just so good, so good. Thank you. Any other questions before we take a little break?
Kelly, I was wondering what feels like dancing in this and all of it, and all of what you're doing. What it feels, is it the dancing, or is it?
Well, I mean, the answer to that, I think, Sarah, is always my definition of dancing is moving or not to music or not. You know, it is being in my body, feeling and expressing something. So all of it's dancing to me. You know, is it performance of dance? Not necessarily. It may not be designed to share with anyone other than on this screen, but it doesn't mean I'm not dancing. Yeah.
Yeah. So